Hey, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Jolly by Nature, and we are back. It's been a little bit. We took a little bit of a break over the holiday. Have you missed me? I've missed you guys. But we are back to prepare our team for Chapter 3 PvP in Season 7 of the Blastburn Radio Nuzlocke World Tour. So, guys, let's see if I remember, like, what's on my team or how best to use it. So we are at the end of Chapter 3, which it culminated with Berg in the Castelia City Gym. We knocked that gym out a couple weeks ago, right before the release of Pokemon Sword and Shield, and we have been going hard into Sword and Shield ever since then. So we haven't given a whole lot of thought to our boys in Black 2. So let's just take a quick look at the team and kind of remind ourselves what we're working with. We are finally to the point where we had to actually make a roster decision for this week. So that's pretty exciting. We're finally getting like a box full of Mon. But our current team consists of Merrick, the Modest Herdier, with Return, Workup, Helping Hand, and Crunch. Pudgy Pig, the Modest Pig Knights, with Ember, Return, Flame Charge, and Arm Thrust. Swoop, the Quirky Crobat, with Return, Confuse Ray, Wing Attack, and Bite. Jason, the Hasty Drillbur, love me some Jason, with Metal Claw, Dig, Return, and Hone Claws. Casey, the Shiny Hardy Liepard, with Return, Fake Out, Pursuit, and Hone Claws. Toxica, the Docile Coughing, with Return, Self-Destruct, Sludge, and Clear Smog. And then chilling in the bank, currently we have 3 additional Mon, one of whom did not make the PvP roster this week, that being Joel the Raticate. Ironically, I decided that Leo the Sunkern had more PvP utility this week. Rash Nature with Giga Drain, Cut, Leech Seed, and Grass Whistle. Spoilers, I don't think we're bringing Leo to either match this week, but I felt like having the status option on the bench to threaten our opponents with was more valuable than another normal type, particularly given some of the threats that we're going up against this week, and we'll talk about that. Last but definitely not least, actually one of my favorite members of the team right now, we have Moltor, the level 26 Magby, who is bold-natured with Flame Burst, Confuse Ray, Fire Spin, and Return. Now, real quickly, let's talk about some of the items that we have to potentially distribute this week, because we've got some pretty cool stuff, although not necessarily everything we would want. First of all, I guess since we're on that tab, let's look at our TMs. We haven't gotten anything super exciting this week to distribute, and so we're not gonna. We have the Rest TM, but without like a Sleep Talk or a Chesto Berry or anything of that nature. It's got limited use, and we don't have any of those things yet. Orange, Citrus, and Petcha are our only berries. And yeah, no Sleep Talk. So limited utility from Rest currently. But currently, as far as held items are concerned, we actually have 2 charcoals. One of them you might have noticed was in the bank on Moltor, our Magby. The other one here in the bag. We have a hard stone. We have a scope lens to increase crit ratio. We have a single leftovers, and we have an Eviolite. Now, Celes, we've also got a Mineral Urban and Twisted Spoon. I don't think either of those or the Miracle Seed has any real use for us this week. Now, Celes took the time to go into the sewers and thief until she landed a Black Sludge. We ain't got time for that. We're not going to be doing that, at least not this week, maybe in the future. My thought process there is, items like Black Sludge and Leftovers tick for such low amounts that they're not super useful at this point in the game. In my opinion, as compared to like a Citrus Berry, we're going to use our lefties in both matches this week, but it's not like a must-have, need it right away item, because I mean technically we could run 2 Black Sludges on Swoop and Toxica and free up our lefties for something else, and that could be pretty dope, but I don't think it's super necessary this week. Also, Pokemon Sword and Shield just came out, and there's lots of stuff I want to do in those titles, and that's taking a little bit of priority right now. If I felt like getting Black Sludge was a larger impact item on this series, like I'm competitive, I would set aside my preferences and I would do the annoying dumb thing, but I don't think it's that impactful, and so with it not being that impactful, I'm not going to do it. Let's talk about our opponents and their teams and what they're going to bring. They're both also in a position where they had to make roster decisions this week, although I don't think it's going to be super hard for either of them to decide what they're bringing this week in particular. Mes's roster currently consists of Juju, his Servine, Manny, his Leavanny, Scuttle, his Tranquil, Xanatos, his Magnemite, Gaston, his Girder, a big impactful new addition to his team, Radigan, the Raticate, and Finnick, the Eevee. Now, There's some power on this team. I think my roster still like stacks up really well, unfortunately for Mes, but there is definitely some power on this team. Gaston the Girder is a problem, like no matter how you slice it, even given the fact that I have two fairly high profile poison types that are going to resist that fighting stab. Again, Swoop, the Crobat, resisting it quad. Gaston has Rock Throw, so nothing is like, there's no safe switch ins there, and it's so fat, particularly with Eviolite. I definitely expect an Eviolite Girder this week, and that is going to be a problem for us to deal with. Mes is definitely not bringing Finnick the Eevee. I don't even think Mes has leveled Finnick the Eevee at all yet, because he wants to evolve it into something good, basically, and none of those good options are available yet at this point in the game. His only options to evolve it immediately were Espeon or Umbreon. If I had landed an Eevee, I probably would have evolved it into an Espeon, but Mes is holding on to his, and because he's holding on to his, he's not going to want to put its Eevee investment in the wrong place. He's not going to want to pass over learning good moves. It's just going to sit in the bank. So Servine, Leavanny, Tranquil, Magnemite, Girder, and Raticate are pretty definitively Mes's team of 6 for this week. Now, for Celes, I don't think things are quite as certain, but I think that there's definitely a right way for her to build her team, and we'll see if that's the direction she chooses to go in. But she still has, of course, Felix, her Duat, Annette, her Herdier, Catherine, her Magnemite, Caspar, her Growlithe, Hilda, her Boldore, who is, again, a new and potentially very impactful member of her team, Petra, her Crobat, another power player, and then Bernadetta, her Petalil. Now, that Petalil Bernadetta is potentially going to be very impactful on the series for her. Like, that is a very good mon. With Felix, her Duat, Caspar, her Growlithe, and Bernadetta, her Petalil, Celes is a very good Fire, Water, Grass core very early in the game. That being said, Petalil as a Petalil is not really anything to write home about. I think that bringing it this week would be a mistake. I have a lot of fire and a lot of poison on my roster. I threaten that thing significantly. I think that if she brings it, it's definitely a weaker option. That being said, she might. Celes gets into these weird like headspaces where she sees something as good and she goes, that is the good thing, I must use it, even when it's not good in that situation. And I know that she feels very strongly about that Petalil, so I wouldn't be shocked to see it. But I think personally that if it comes, that is a mistake. I'm also not sure what she would really sit in favor of it. Like, Hilda the Boldore actually matches up very well against my team, and I think is a very strong option against me. I think that the combination of Catherine the Magnemite and Caspar the Growlithe are so good against me together, because my best option to deal with Catherine is Fire Stab, and I can't click it if I know that the Growlithe is in the back with Flash Fire. So that's a huge problem for me, and I think that if either of those things does not come, that's a pretty big mistake on Celeste's part. So yeah, I'm going to expect her to play the smart play, which is to sit the Petalil and bring Duat, Herdier, Magnemite, Growlithe, Boldore, and Crobat, but I wouldn't be shocked if that's not what we see. And again, this is a problem. Celes is currently in first place in the series. She beat us in PvP last week with fewer Pokemon, and her roster is just so good against mine. I have a lot of things that are water weak. That Duat is so fucking strong. Again, I can't lean into my strongest typings, which are poison and fire currently, as long as she has a steel type and a flash fire in the back. I feel like I've built the best team to take her on that we possibly can, but I'm not super confident in that matchup. I think that we will beat Mes again for the third week running. Poor Mes. I've been kicking the shit out of Mes since midway through Heart Gold, Soul Silver. But I think we have that matchup pretty well in the bag, unless that Girder just runs ham all over my team, which fuck it could. But I think Celes is probably going to give us a spanking for the second week in a row. So let's switch over to our Showdown side, and we'll show you guys what we're planning on unpacking this week. There we go. So we got our teams inputted for both Mes and Celes here, and for Mes, we are bringing a roster consisting of Moltor the Magby, Casey the Lipard, Toxica the Coughing, Jason the Drillbur, Swoop the Crobat, and Pudgy Pig the Pig Knight. We're bringing both of our fire types this week against Mes, which I think just makes a lot of sense. Again, Mes has a lot of fire weak Pokemon, so having both of those options just potentially does a lot of work. I definitely wanted the fighting stab as well from Pudgy Pig, with things like Raticate running around. I feel like that's a really good option. We do also know that Gaston the Girder on Mes's roster, as strong and threatening of a mon as that is, he is a sheer force Girder, which means he is not guts, which means we can burn him freely, which is really why we are bringing Eviolite Magby, Eviolite Moltor, is so we can live as many contact hits from that Girder as we can, and we can try to burn it. We also have Flame Burst on Moltor, which is by far our strongest fire stab move on the team, although notably it lacks the burn chance. So Flame Body is our only chance to burn with Moltor. We do have Ember on Pudgy Pig though, which does have a burn chance, which is nice. We really want to get a burn off on Gaston if we can. We really don't want to get a burn off on Ratigan if we can avoid it, because he is guts, and that's a problem. We have Casey, the Lipard. We're rocking the scope lens, and really Casey's job primarily is going to be to just kind of rotate in and fake out in appropriate situations on things that outspeed other things on my team. Although Mes's team isn't super fast, so that's not as much of a concern. Casey's actually a pretty decent cleaner here, is very, very fast in comparison to most things, and should outspeed Mes's entire team. So being able to just fake out and return for big damage is appreciated. The scope lens is here obviously to try to get some crit shenanigans, some crit hacks going on. Pursuit could potentially be useful if we know that we're going to threaten something out, like if for instance the Leavanny is on low health, and it would make sense maybe for Mes to switch into the Girder, who resists a lot of things and threatens Casey. Then we could potentially Pursuit trap it, which is helpful. I got Toxica the Coughing, which again, Toxica is just so incredibly useful here. Toxica is here almost exclusively to prevent that Girder from setting up in my face with Clear Smog, which is helpful. It can also self-destruct when its health gets low, to try to take something with it, which is nice. Jason the Drillbur, despite being an unevolved level 26 Pokemon, has a stupid high attack stat, and is reasonably very fast as well, and it threatens just a whole lot of things. Unfortunately, our only ground stab is Dig. That sucks. No lie, not gonna downplay that. That is a very, very unfortunate thing. But if we can play around the myriad grass types on Mes's team, nothing really wants to switch into a return from this thing, particularly if we can threaten the Magnemite out and click Hone Claws. That would be, I think, ideal. Get a Hone Claws boost for Magnemite and then just start returning through everything. We've got Swoop the Crobat, also holding a Citrus Berry, and Swoop does Crobat things. Swoop outspeeds the entire field. There is nothing that Mes can field that will be faster than this Crobat. Has Wing Attack to hit all of the grass, and the fighting, it also obviously hits Gaston the Girder very, very hard. Confuse Ray is very good, particularly against Gaston, and yeah, just good mon, real good mon, real glad to have him. Obviously is by far our best switch into Grass Stab from Servine, or from Leavanny, or Bug Stab from Leavanny for that matter, which means I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of returns out of Mes's team this week, because he's going to be very aware of the fact that I have all of these resist options for his best mon. Last but not least, we got Pudgy Pig. Again, there's not a lot of variance at these low levels, but we have Flame Charge to speed boost, which is potentially really, really important. And then Arm Thrust, which lets us deal with things like the Eradicate, which is handy. Again, if we can, we're going to want to click Ember on that Girder as much as we can. We really want to burn that boy. Now, I feel really good about this team. Again, we have a not insignificant roster advantage on Mes. That's going to make it hard for him to do the things that he wants to do. But let's talk about Celes, where I think the advantage is less defined. We're really only making one key change to our roster for Celes versus Mes, and that is we are not bringing Moltor the Magby. Celes simply has too many ways to threaten it, too few things that are weak to it, and instead we are bringing Merrick the Herdier. And the great thing about this set, the Eviolite Intimidate Herdier set, is it can pretty freely switch into Celeste's Duat, Felix. Now, we do have to be aware of the fact that there is a very real possibility that Felix is going to be rocking the scope lens alongside Razor Shell for increased crit chances, and that as such, like, Intimidate isn't going to matter as much. But barring crit hacks shenanigans, Merrick takes hits from Duat really, really well and does about half its health pretty consistently with return. And so that's really just kind of the thing, is Merrick is here to switch into Duat and then chunk something. And if it becomes really clear that Celeste's answer to that is to switch into Magnemite, or more specifically, I guess, to switch into Boldor, into Hilda, we can start crunching as well for big damage, or we can work up and then crunch on the next turn. Like, we have options there. But really, the key thing for the matchup against Celeste is she has a core of things that just cause me problems in Duat, Magnemite, Growlithe, and Boldor. Those 4 Mon are a huge problem for me. I need to get rid of one of them. If I can get rid of Duat, then all of a sudden Pudgy Pig can come in for free and threaten the entire field. If I can get rid of Magnemite, then all of a sudden Toxica can come in and just click poison moves, and is actually a threat instead of just being an invitation for Magnemite to switch in for free. If I can get rid of Boldor, then all of a sudden I can click return freely. Jason is in a really good position in this matchup because he's one of the few things that threatens Celeste's entire team. Obviously, like, the only things that resist return are Magnemite, who does not want to eat a dig, as well as Boldor, who doesn't want to eat that same dig and also doesn't want to eat a Metal Claw. We're going to do our best not to click dig if we don't have to, at least not until Crobat goes down. But yeah, like, Jason's in a really good offensive place in this matchup, and again is in that same position where if we can get Jason in and threaten out something like Magnemite or Boldor and click a Hone Claws, we're in a pretty good position actually to secure a sweep here. So yeah, that's the team, guys. I'm not sure how well it's gonna do this week, particularly against Celeste, but we're gonna do our best. We're gonna try to make it happen. And regardless, we're looking forward to kicking Black and White to back off with Chapter 4 and Elisa in the Nimbasa City Gym. So get hyped for that, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, and I will see you next time.